Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Take 2 on the new episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's still Michelle.
It's still Michelle. It's always Michelle and still always Michelle. Luckily, we only made it about 3.5 minutes into the first take before I had a little bit of a disaster with my lungs, and we had to stop. But now we're back from outer space. Just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. Should have changed that stupid lock. Should have made you leave the key. If I had known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Go on now, go. Walk out the door. Don't turn around now.
I preferred take
anyway,
one.
So,
I definitely preferred take one.
See, guys, what happened is I was trying to have just a small beginning of the episode, little bit of medical cannabis. My little vape thing was clogged, and then the clog popped, and I got hit with way more than I intended, and we had to stop for a minute, and now I'm real high, like way higher than I usually am for this, so I apologize if shit gets weird from here. Now, that being said, do you know what it is?
As true professionals, we cannot just create a new episode file and take two. We do have to spend 2 minutes explaining to you that this is take two. And you guys, we can't lie. You're not even asking us a thing, and we're being so honest about it. You're
Michelle,
welcome. We are
honest
podcasters.
This is going to mean nothing to anybody as well, but I'm not sure why. Just all of a sudden, your webcam is way out of focus and glitchy and gross.
Oh, weird. Well, I'll turn it off and back on. That's
it's... Oh, my God. Where'd you go? It's probably something on my side. Anyway, nobody cares. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I'm so high. It's Michelle in review. Michelle in review. Michelle in review.
Michelle in
review. Michelle in review. This is our monthly look back at the month that was. We talk about some horror news. We talk about some things we saw that we haven't already talked about. We simply just marvel at the insane numbers that Michelle puts up every month for content consumed. That's what we're here to talk about. It's probably best, considering the condition I'm in at this point, that I just stop now and hand it over to Michelle to fly us through from here.
Absolutely. Okay. We are going to start with numbers. Everybody wants to know what my Spooktober numbers were. If it's your first time here, maybe you don't care. Here's the deal. Usually I set a goal for myself of 60 things to watch or read, in the case of books, in October. And being Spooktober, I assumed that I was going to have the same number of movies, TV shows, miniseries as last year. And those numbers were 130. Nowhere near that. My total for the month was 64, including 57 movies, 6 miniseries, 1 book. But what I found when I went back to look at what happened in October 2023 was that October 2023 was not when I watched 130 things.
Oh, shit!
That was November 2023, which makes sense because October is a huge fundraising month for me. I spend the entire time working, attending school, and then spending every other waking moment in a silent auction prep space with my fellow basket bitches. And we put together 750 baskets, just us 10, constantly over the course of a month. Our event just wrapped last night. I will post about it on social media, but nobody cares. I'll add some pictures of the dogs we're helping, and then you might care a little bit. But then it makes sense that November, I crash, I become antisocial, I do not take on any additional projects. We start getting into Blizzard territory, so we're also going to have some holidays in here. I'll have some days off of work, and baby, we are getting those numbers up. I'm 3 days in. I am behind. 130 movies means that I have to watch 4.5 movies-ish per day. I can do that. Let's go.
All right, speaking of numbers, Michelle, before we get into into anything deeper, I do want to. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you to divulge anything that's not public information, but just in general, Michelle has been part of a team that's been working on this fundraiser for Love of Dog Rescue for, was it 4 years now? Like 4 years running.
So if I went back and looked, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
And their team, since taking over the event, it was always a successful thing, but their team has done incredible things on making new strides here. How do you feel about this year? Are you feeling really positive, or do you feel like maybe, how do you think things went?
Monetarily, we did fantastic. I don't have the final numbers, but I know that we have a public budget or goal set, and I think our number was 66,000 on that public-facing number, not counting any cash donations that came in through the night, not counting sponsorships that came in ahead of time. That was just merch sales. Also, I sold a lot of merch today. I had my laptop. I was salesmaning my way through it as people came to collect their stuff, being like, hey, you look kind of cold. You sure you don't want a sweatshirt on your way out? They're really soft. We have new designs.
Look at you.
So, yeah, I know. I hate being a salesman, but I'm like, for real, I loved our merch this year. So
I strongly recommend... it's for Love of Dog Rescue. It's the number 4, and then love is LUV, right?
Yeah, and I have feelings about it, but I'm over it.
No, well, I just want to make sure people know how to find it.
Yep, number 4, LUV.
Yeah, go find their Facebook page, follow it, because those numbers are going to be publicly announced here, in the next week or so, probably, sometime soon?
Oh, I'm hoping tomorrow that now that we've had some time to recover, because item pickup was today, all of us just needed to take a night to breathe for a little bit. I took a very, very long nap, okay, I'm no longer stressed. I'm going to crash nap, and it was much needed. Lots of weird dreams there. So I'm hoping tomorrow we'll have those numbers. But yeah, go follow the page just because we pretty much just post dogs all the time.
Yeah,
and that's pretty great.
It's cool for dog stuff, but also, I just like to send up my my partner in podcast crime here every now and then, because it's it's insane. Especially this past October, because we made the hilarious error of saying, no, it'll be fine. We can record some of the Spooktober daily drops during the month. It'll be fine. How could it It was a problems, guys.
It was not fine.
It was not fine. Frankly, if you listen to those last few episodes, I'm not even going to lie to you. We did not turn in our best work this year. We promise. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just wanted to take a moment again to send up the crazy great work you do. So we are, though... you said it was a 134 last year?
130. I have to go look at the actual numbers because it was a little wonky with it being the first time I was tracking them. But 130-ish in November 2023.
Well, I expect you to come back with a superior number by the time we do the next one of these.
Yeah, I am canceling all non-mandatory plans, and I will be in my house for a week, which means that also I'm gonna be crafting again. I busted out my cross stitch I started a human skull many years ago, and I got so frustrated with the various colors of beige that I put it in a box, and I haven't looked at it in years. I am busting out the human skull cross stitch. I can't guarantee that I'm not going to get frustrated and put it away again, but that means I can cross stitch and watch movies and then feel like I'm doing something productive and not just staring at my TV. And that means that I can really get in the zone. November, let's do this. If I don't hit 130 in November, I might quit the podcast.
Please don't quit the podcast.
Well, then I guess I have to just encourage everybody to leave me alone so that I can just really be in my zone.
I need this, Michelle.
Yeah, good point.
My life would...
I'm also looking forward to... I'm looking forward to squelch hunting again. So many people sent me squelches because Spooktober... Okay, in case you're new, I collect squelching subtitles. Squelch, squelches, squelched, squelching. I explained it to many people yesterday because they saw the squelching sticker. they saw the squelching sticker on my laptop, which is my trick to get them to ask me about the squelch files. And the first person who asked, I went, how many squelches do you think I've collected? And they went 400, and I laughed in their face, and I went, no, bitch, I'm up to 1,500 publicly posted. I have more in the archive. People messaged me all throughout Spooktober, and it made me so happy. I've got some squelch MVPs out there. Kristen, my number one squelch MVP. Nathan out there learned about the squelches and is ecstatic to be looking for squelches. We got Stephanie, our friend Steph JD. She has been sending me some great squelches. I'm looking forward to going back collecting those. My squelch hunters were fully out in Spooktober, and I'm a proud squelch mama.
Oh God! So we should probably talk about some stuff that we saw,
yes,
huh?
I would love to.
Do we want to start and just get out of the way the most recent Shudder drops that we didn't do full episodes on, and just have some quick thoughts about those?
Perfect, with a small addendum.
Sure.
Usually our format, now that I've switched, would be that I drop any horror news and then talk about a series I watched in October.
Yeah, let's do the news.
Neither of those happened. No.
You didn't get a chance?
I even told you if we delayed it 2 days, I'm like, yeah, I'll have time. But with the auction, we had new software, which added 5 more hours to my work. I did not leave the auction space until 1:30 last night. I had to get there right away this morning to prepare. There were some hiccups. It's a much better system. We don't have to talk about it, but it did make us all go, oh no, we did not account for this.
Hey,
so
cool.
I have no horror news. You'll have tons of horror news in November's.
Here's one bit of horror news that I know, and it's barely, I don't know any specifics or details, but I did finally see a thing about, I think it was just like a teaser of some kind, about finally in January, I think it's in January, they're gonna finally release Steven Soderbergh's Presence. And I am super excited about that. Steven Soderbergh obviously has done, he did all those Ocean's 11 movies, and he's just some big, huge budget, major motion pictures. But for the last 10, 15 years, he has done these awesome, he did one of them, I think it's called Unsane, one called Contagion, one just a couple of years ago called Kimi, Kimi, that I just fucking adore. But what I like about him, especially Kimi, is he's sort of uses certain horror elements, but modifies them in a way. Anyway, all that to say, I'm really excited to see what he does in a more deliberate kind of found footage or first-person perspective horror kind of situation. I'm really curious to see how that plays out.
If that movie winds up getting released widely in 2025, then it will be available on the release date will be available on the We Watch Shudder website with soon to be the new and improved list of all releases from 2025 and beyond that would fall in horror, thriller, or horror adjacent. Your girl got a new database in October. That was my way of coping with the stress of everything else that I was doing. I built myself a database that is much better than what Google Sheets was doing for me. It's the way that I cope with too much work is I give myself more work, and it's beautiful. It's glorious. I have codes for the movies with lookup options. You can filter yourself, baby. So that's going to be great. In November, hopefully I will be putting that on the website.
This is another one that I hope your therapist is listening to.
Yeah, on Wednesday I basically just gave her movie recommendations because I was like, I don't have brain space for anything else. Can I please talk to you about movies on my Michelle and review list? Therapy's going well.
I cope with having too much to do by finding even more to do. That's an interesting strategy I never would have considered myself. Holy shit.
It's because I still feel like I'm being productive, but now I'm productive in a way that I'm choosing to be, not productive in a way that I'm being forced to be. So I'm still working on a spreadsheet. It's just a different spreadsheet.
It's a spreadsheet that you personally care about.
This is a fun spreadsheet,
right?
Not I have to do this because I screwed up 12 baskets, and now I have to go figure out which of these had the smoking loon wine. What do you mean that there were 3 baskets with smoking loon wine, not 2? I have 5 baskets on my that. Seriously, you guys, if you're not on our basket team, which like chances are very high you're not. The ladies, I love them. They do not listen, and they should not listen. They would not care about this. But my fellow basket bitches and I, the things that we run into conundrums on our let's just say I got very excited about the auction being done on Tuesday. I got a little too drunk on Crown Royal at the auction space. Wednesday, I woke up to a lot of mistakes that I then had to correct because I was like, I'm drunk, but I'm still helping. No, I should have just gone home. Sometimes I got a little too excited about like, look, we're so close to the end. I'm just going to finish up these baskets and then I'm done. Woo! And then I'm like, what do you mean there's 5 baskets instead of 4? But yeah.
Anyway, we're now 16 and a half minutes into Michelle in review. We should probably talk about some movies, huh?
Yes, let's start with the new Shudder drops that we are not going to release full episodes for.
Yeah, they. I don't know how I missed it because apparently it was announced. There were sources that had it in their schedule and everything. I just overlooked it because I'm responsible for the schedule. That's my bad. But they had a Shudder exclusive the day before Halloween, October 30th. They dropped the Russell Crowe film The Exorcism, which I thought wasn't he in that other movie? The Pope's Exorcist.
The Exorcist?
Yeah, The Pope's Exorcist, and I thought it was going to be connected to that somehow, but apparently it's not. It's just he did 2 completely different exorcism movies in a couple of years. Anyway, I'm not going to lie, Michelle, I still haven't finished watching the film. It was weird because I thought I started it, and here's what I can tell you. The opening scene, there's a little prologue scene before the credits roll. It's about 2.5-3 minutes long, and it's badass. Like, the opening was really good, and then within, like, about 20 minutes or so, I got detached enough that I was just like, oh, I'm going to go do something else right now, and I'll come back to this, and I've just never come back to it because we didn't do an episode about it.
Here's what I can say about The Exorcism. I love that opening scene as well. I thought that was like, ooh, what is this? This is okay. What's going on? This is some new camera work. I'm fascinated. And then it does drop off, but I was surprised by how much I loved Russell Crowe's performance.
Okay.
I really enjoyed his acting. Like, Russell Crowe's a pretty well-known actor, and I've seen him in other things, but for some reason, I just really believed this character. Overall, I didn't enjoy the movie. I don't think I'm ever going to go back and watch it, but I was surprised by how much I liked him. He is obviously a very good actor, and I really, really enjoyed his character and the way that he portrayed him. It was just all the other stuff going on around him that was kind of a bummer.
Sounds good. I don't know. Frankly, I'm not sure if I will ever go back and finish it. Maybe just out of curiosity someday where I manage to have an hour and 15 minutes to. Well, I'll have to start it over again just because by that time I'll have forgotten everything. But no, and then also this past Friday, one that we knew was coming. It was a documentary about the Child's Play franchise called Doc of Chucky. And then it dropped. And what did we find out, Michelle?
4 hours, 55 minutes. The night before my silent auction goes live. It's from my in-person social.
Goddamn 5 hours long. For look, let's be fair. Here's they didn't even do the whole franchise. They did the first 7 movies. They didn't talk
There's
about
a reason for that.
They didn't talk about the remake. They didn't talk about the TV series at all. And I'm sure there is reason for that. But it was, Michelle, Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched was just barely over 3 hours long, and it talked about dozens of films. This is about 7 movies, and it was 5 hours. It took me 3 sessions to finish it. How many did it take you?
I kind of watched it just throughout the entire day on Friday. I'm surprised that I got through it. It was just on, and I would pause it as I needed to. I took Friday off to do auction prep stuff. So it was just kind of on while I was sitting there doing my mindless work, and I got through the whole thing pretty much no separate sessions. I would just pause if I had to go do something else for a bit and come back to it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm curious with the runtime, how you overall felt about it.
Well, look, here's what I want to say is we have talked before about how if there is a place where I am more forgiving of long run times, it's documentaries. Because I understand that if it is a topic or something that I myself am very much a big fan of, then I can sit and get absorbed and lost in documentary type stuff for hours. Even things like, I remember when that series, The Toys That Made Us, first dropped on Netflix several years ago. I sat down and watched that entire 8-episode series in one sitting, right? And this is really well structured in the sense that, so I was really worried because the first hour and a half is all about the first movie, but it's also about not just the first movie, but the development of the ideas in general and all of that and getting everything off the ground. They do break it up really well after that into easily digestible chunks about each of the movies. So if you're a big fan of this franchise, I think it's going to be something that is right up your alley, and you won't mind the runtime at all. It's very encyclopedic. Like, this is one of those, we are just here to give you all this behind the scenes information and whatnot. But it's really well done. It's obviously it's super comprehensive. It's exhaustive. What did you think of it?
I loved it. I really like the initial Child's Play movie. I realized because of this, I mean, I've never looked into it, so it's not like it's a surprise, but that there are movies I haven't seen, Cult of Chucky being one of them. And it made me excited to go watch those. Now that I mean, like the recap didn't feel like, oh, it spoiled it for me to the point where I don't want to watch this anymore. Instead, I'm like, oh, it's really cool to know what's going on behind it. I would definitely compare it to RoboDoc, the RoboCop documentary. And that's partially why I was able to just sit there and watch it throughout Friday. It's also great background noise because, it's people talking, so I could have it on while I was focused on other things and not missing anything. That's the joy of a documentary. I would also compare it to a movie I watched earlier this year and absolutely loved, or a documentary rather, FPS First Person Shooter, which is a very comprehensive list of the history of first person shooter video games. Even if there's a topic that I think if I have a slight interest and they're able to deliver it in a way that's very interesting like this did, and it had some very exclusive interviews. John Waters just shows up partway through this. They have what's his name, Brad Dourif, the guy who voices Chucky, the one that they settled with voicing Chucky. There was going to be a lady doing the doll voice for a while, and then they realized that would have been a bad idea, and they were right. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I learned so much about this movie that I've always felt like, oh, okay, it's a pretty good movie. Now I'm like, wow, I want to just go dive into the whole franchise. The reason that they did leave the remake and the TV series off is they said that was bought by Universal. It is not part of the initial Chucky story. The initial Chucky story is done. Now it's a new vision based on how they decide to run with it. And I'm glad they did that, though, because the TV show, I think it just got canceled. But at the time when they were making this, they would have been talking about a TV show that would either someday get canceled or had been canceled. And it would have just been awkward when you don't have an end to that story yet.
What's interesting about that, though, is, so I do agree with you. Like, this is a franchise where I have not seen all of these movies. Here's what I know for sure. I've seen the original Child's Play. I've seen Child's Play 3. I don't think I've ever seen Child's Play 2. I've seen Bride of Chucky, and then I've never seen any of the rest of them. I haven't seen Seed, I haven't seen Curse, I haven't seen Cult. I can tell you that I absolutely agree with you that after watching this and hearing, especially Don Mancini and is it David Kirshner or Brian Kirshner, the producer, hearing those two guys talk about, like, I'm definitely like, there might be things happening in these movies that, like, it might be not what I thought it had become, right? Because I very much got the impression that it had just become this ridiculous, just laughable horror comedy kind of, and not in a good way, sort of thing. So I'm definitely very interested now in going and in checking these out. And watching the entire franchise. It is interesting to me that they say the TV series is supposed to be like an entirely new Chucky story, like Chucky alternate universe or something. Is that the idea?
I don't know if it's necessarily that, but it's no longer the original creator's vision. It's what they feel like doing with it, with no outside influence from the people who are in this documentary are not affecting how they're doing the TV show.
I thought Don Mancini was absolutely involved with the TV show.
Well, I don't know what they meant by that statement then.
Yeah,
That's definitely what they said.
Don Mancini is the showrunner. Like, he makes that show. It's produced by...
I don't know what they mean by it.
Where did you get...
They said it's separate.
Who said...
Oh my God. I have to go back up my article. Hang on.
No, Michelle, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I would like to hear the complete quote. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to know what they're saying.
Wrong.
So, I mean, you don't have to back anything up.
Does it sound bloody disgusting? Now I'm Googling so fast. While I'm doing this, I'm just...
Oh, anyway, so one thing I do wanted to talk... I can talk about is if you are a fan of this franchise, I also want to take a moment because I went back and watched it again as well, in addition to watching Doc of Chucky. A couple of years ago, the daughter of the special effects guy, Tom Gardner, his daughter made a documentary called Living with Chucky. It was originally produced for Screambox. It's available on Tubi now and a couple of other places. It's about an hour and 40 minutes. Obviously not nearly as comprehensive as this, but it does go through each movie individually and has some really fantastic interviews that are just... Like, it takes a different tack than this, where this is very much just, like, informative and behind the scenes, and that, like, for example, in Living with Chucky, all of the interviews with Brad Dourif and his daughter Fiona Dourif are all just one interview, and it's them together, and they're talking about the movie together. And again, it was made by the daughter of the special effects guy, and it's very much about the movies, but also about that sense of family that they talk about a little bit in this one. And anyway, I just wanted to mention it and strongly recommend it if you haven't seen it and you are a fan of the franchise, because it's really, really, really good.
I will have to get your quote after this because I'm just looking for Doc of Chucky, and getting that the show is canceled instead of that quote. But I know
Well,
I've
that
got
sucks.
it in my history. I'll get
No,
back to you so I
I'm
can get
sure
you
there
that-
is
that.
something to do with who has the rights to it, but no, I
Now
just
I'm
when
curious. I know
when-
it was specifically Universal is its own thing. It doesn't belong in this documentary, but I need to find out who said that and why.
no,
I will get back to you.
all right, fair enough. But
One thing that
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing that I really loved about Doc of Chucky is I knew Seed of Chucky was very gay, and I loved that. I did not realize that one of the characters in an earlier film he was played by a bisexual man who was like, I'm playing this as a bisexual man. Love that representation, and that has always been part of it. Seed of Chucky is, kind of an openly trans character doll.
Right, yeah,
character
Glenn
slash doll.
Glenn
slash
Glenda.
Glenda. So that's very well known, but I didn't know that they've put that interwoven through other things since I think that was Child's Play 2, and that is just really cool because bisexual men are very, very underrepresented, and love that whole bunch.
Yeah, the series very much has become a sort of like it's been very accepted in a lot of ways by the LGBTQ plus community and or at least among horror fans in that community. Don Mancini has been openly gay for many years, and it's so funny that he has been openly so, and yet when they introduced that character, like the number of people who had such a profound reaction to it, and it's just like, where have you been? This franchise has been gay since pretty much day one. We just didn't say it outright, and that's the thing you have a problem with, ultimately, is what's happening. It's honestly, that's one of the things that has compelled me to want to go and look at some of those later movies that I haven't seen, because that's a part of it that honestly I never would have expected. And so I'm curious to see how those play. Also, just between you, me, and the wall, Fiona Dourif might be the most incredibly attractive woman I've ever seen in my life, and I want to watch her work. She was in a show called Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency as a psychopath crazy person, and I really loved her in that, and I want to see her in that Curse of Chucky movie. I think it's going to be really good.
Sweet. Other
Anyway.
movies? Should we move?
Yes. Moving on with
Excellent.
Michelle in review. I don't have
Michelle in
anything else to
review.
talk about from here. Literally
Okay,
everything that I watched in October was something we watched for Spooktober.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at too. Okay. I've got a bunch of stuff that you are not going to have much of a response to, so we'll go through quickly. I say, knowing that JD is very high, and we'll see. Okay. First off, The Platform 2 came out on Netflix. I'm excited that they had a sequel come out just so I can talk about the first one a little bit, which I really, really enjoy. I like any sort of weird dystopian thing, and The Platform is essentially two people wake up in a big cement cell kind of area, and there's a big hole in the middle, and every day a big platform lowers down and it has food on it, or maybe it doesn't, and you are getting the leftovers of whatever the people above you have left for you, and then that platform moves on. And so the lower on you are in the system, you have to rely on people to leave food behind for you and not gorge themselves. And there is enough food for everybody, but you have to rely on them to make sure that you eat. It is a fascinating metaphor for society. It gets really weird. I believe the quote from the first one that I always get stuck in my head is, the panna cotta is the message. That will make sense if you've seen it, but it becomes like a mantra throughout. Platform 2, I was stoked for, and it answered a lot of things, yet left me so much more confused than I was at the beginning. And I'm like, wait, did this happen after or before the first one? How did this part play in? Is that the same guy from this? Is that the same girl from this? Have they developed this system a little bit more? It basically goes into, like, the first one feels very much Like, either there was a system and nobody's following it, or this is a new concept and people are just doing what they want. And then the second one tries to add some structure to that, and you see what happens when you try to enforce a structure of, no, you have to leave behind things for other people, and how that plays out. So the platform and the platform 2, I love them. They are bizarre. Platform 2 is not a perfect movie for me because I think I was almost too confused. But God, now I want a Platform 3. Keep making platforms. Keep putting people in these impossibly tall cellular structures that make no fucking sense. They do explain a little bit in Platform 2 of how this thing works, and it's like, how? What do you mean this is how they get people in and out? What? It is wild. If you enjoyed the platform, watch the Platform 2. You might love it. You might hate it. You're definitely going to be confused if you pay attention. The more you pay attention, the more confused you will become. But I really, really enjoyed the Platform 2, and that was a great start to my Spooktober.
Well, here's what I need to know about the Platform 2, or the platform even, is now I got to figure out which came first, the platform or this TV show called Next Level Chef, because that's basically the gimmick of this Gordon Ramsay chef cooking show. It's like a cooking competition, and there's 3 levels, and the people who make their way up to the top get first pick from all the ingredients, and then it goes down to the second level, and they get to pick over what's left, and the people who have failed are down at the bottom, and they get the worst selection of things. And now I gotta know which came first. Was it the platform?
El Hoyo, the first one, came first.
What?
El Hoyo, the first platform, came first. I believe that was 2019. Yes, I am right. So the Netflix movie, The Platform, about a dystopian society in which you are given food based on the order of your level in this tower, came before Chef Ramsay's Next Level Chef. And I really, really hope that he watched the Netflix dystopian film about how society needs to care for each other and how they won't, and people will die because of that. And he went, that seems like a good cooking show. Yeah, I definitely watch people starving to death and think, God, I can't wait to watch somebody cooking something really nice. I also hope that the platform in Next Level Chef, which I have never seen, is also just as foreboding, where you hear this little like hum as it settles and you slowly see what's left for you down on level 79. What are the scraps that you've been left with? Is there even a chicken bone? The things that people won't eat, is even that gone? You can't nibble on a plate? I'm really gonna think that is 100% like a remake.
Nibble on a plate. I think I can. I don't know. I think you can nibble on a plate. I don't know if it would be terribly nutritious, but you could do it.
It would take you a while to eat, and you can only eat as long as the platform is on your level. As soon as it starts moving, you have to set what you can't hoard food, you can't hoard a plate, you can't keep anything. Otherwise, you die.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Great fucking movie. Okay. Moving on.
Okay.
I was proven wrong about a movie, and I've had very strong opinions about it. I've had very openly outspoken opinions on this show about this movie I had not seen. And it's proof that I just need to stop having opinions unless I can back them up by watching it. There were actually 2 movies that I was wrong about and that I saw in Spooktober.
Ooh,
I know.
Let's hear about it.
Okay. The first one, the really big one that makes me go like, oh shit, I said some bad things. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 is great. The remake of Winnie the Pooh, or not remake, the sequel to Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, great movie. It's amazing what happens when they just write a story that I care about. The first one was just a ridiculous slasher that took itself way too seriously, and I hated it, and I said it was one of the worst movies to come out in 2023. I wasn't even sugarcoating it. I was going along with everybody else. I was like, this movie has so many mistakes, and I think I just felt like annoyed because it felt like they rushed it because now they had the ability to make it. So why not quickly jump on the Winnie the Pooh killing people train like they're doing with Mickey Mouse? So it felt like you were just trying to capitalize, and I don't respect that. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 is great. They actually took a story that they developed from the first one, and then they went, let's actually write some stuff that makes sense and then give these people what they want with some really fantastic kills.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning something about that, and man, I just don't know. I don't know if I can.
But see, you're like me, where you gotta not have an opinion till you see something. Have you seen the first one?
No.
Okay, I honestly don't think you should even watch the first one. Just watch the second one.
Okay.
They do a good job of recapping enough that you need to know. I did not remember shit about the actual story in the first one because I did not enjoy it. They recapped enough that I went, oh yeah, right, okay, yeah. And I also don't even know if this was in the first movie or if I'm just learning this from this movie because that's how little I cared about the story. I think you can just go straight to Blood and Honey too. You'll figure it out easily.
Maybe.
Because there was so little story in the first one that when they recap it, it's like, oh, okay, cool. That sums it up.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I think it's worth watching just because there is one particularly just very, very killy sequence that I want to shout from the rooftops about, but I would consider it a huge spoiler if I told you anything that happened in it, but God, it's a must-see.
And
there's some really good stuff.
God damn
Winnie
it.
the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Yeah.
I know. I'm mad about it too. I told you. And here's where it gets extra irritating. I was wrong about a second movie. I've talked to JD a little bit about this one too, and he's also pretty bummed out about it. Speak No Evil 2024 remake. It's actually good. It didn't need a remake, but this is a complete alternative universe with a completely different message behind it. It's twisted in a different way. The trailers for the American movies do not give away a gigantic twist. There is that gigantic twist that is I'm trying to say this in case you have not seen the original Speak No Evil, you will not maybe understand what is so upsetting about the American trailer and how they gave everything away. But then you watch the American movie and it tells a very different story. It's still the same kind of setup. Two people become friends with two people and they both have a child and they decide to go vacation with this other family, and boundaries are overstepped little by little by little until it's inexcusable. And at what point do you say this is not okay and you become you have to put your foot down? And as a person who is not assertive at all, who is not good at confrontation, the first one really it worked for me. And I think that's one of the few that we both gave 5 to, or if not, I gave 5, JD gave it a high score. It's a great movie. So I was very upset about an American remake. That entire last half hour is a completely different story. And it tells you something completely different that happens. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm so mad at them for that. Also, I just love James McAvoy. He's just great in general, and I think that does affect my biases, but I was not happy when I saw that he was going to be in this movie. I was not happy anytime I watched a trailer. I wasn't like, oh man, this movie looks like it's going to suck, but James McAvoy is hunky. I was so mad I couldn't even forgive him because how dare he. But no, it's actually good and it's worth watching, and watching the first one does not ruin my enjoyment of the second one. And if anything, hopefully it gives a little bit more viewership to the initial Dutch film. Although I do think it might be hard to watch the American one and then the Dutch one because there is stuff now. But who knows? I really enjoy the first one. The American one was really good, and I hate them for that.
Yeah, my whole take on that is I'm just as bothered by the idea that they were like, oh, we can't just remake the movie. We got to do our own thing with it. Everybody always be like, oh, we can make it better, blah. Why? What's the...
But they did not try to make it better either. That's the problem.
Yeah, but they tried to make it
different message.
Yeah.
But a different message.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I was also very skeptical every time somebody said, like, no, I mean, it's a completely different message. I see why he did it. And now I'm like, God, you're right, because it's still showing you the dangers of something else now. It's like he had two ideas and he went, okay, what if this played out this way? Okay, I like that. I'm curious what would have happened if we went the other direction, though. And then he had to make it happen. Had to show you. I know.
Maybe
I know. I'm
I'll
also grumpy about it.
Maybe I'll see it.
Also, James McAvoy takes his shirt off at one point.
Michelle.
10 out of 10.
Michelle.
What?
Would you say that? Can you say that name again, please?
Oh, no. How is it actually pronounced?
It's James McAvoy.
McAvoy. I've been saying it wrong my whole life. He's never
I heard you
that
say
he's mad about it.
I heard you say it the first time, and I wasn't sure. Oh, Michelle,
I've definitely been saying McAvoy.
My Bluetooth headphones are telling me they're about to die. Talk about something while I get my backups.
Perfect. Okay, this will be my opportunity to talk about some things that I know JD has not seen. First off, it's What's Inside on Netflix. A bunch of people go to a party and their kind of weird old friend shows up and he's a tech genius. And he's like, hey guys, you want to play this fun party game? I'm going to put some electrodes on your head and we're just going to do like a weird fun thing. And I'm not going to tell you what happens in this party at all. But I will say that it's one of those where you have to kind of try to guess like whether you know what's going on as the audience, whether the people in the scene know what's going on, who is actually doing what, and trying to keep track of all of that. But yet it does it in a way that is not confusing. It's very fun. If you forget what's happening, it reminds you at the perfect time without hitting you over the head with it. It's also like just very funny in a dark way. And when I started thinking like, what's the conflict of this going to be? Did not see the big conflict coming, did not expect it to answer some questions of, yeah, but if this is happening, what if this happened? And oh boy, it's really, really fun. If I had to compare it to something, because I don't want to really say much about it, I would say it's kind of, oh, no, I was going to say maybe bodies like, but I think that's just because it's a bunch of like young, attractive people at a party fucking around. So maybe that's the only reason, but I really liked it. It's What's Inside on Netflix. Check her out.
Hey, speaking of Netflix, have you seen a movie called Disappear Completely?
Disappear Completely. Gotta go look at what the
It's a Netflix movie.
Poster looks like.
I mean, clearly you haven't seen it if you don't.
Oh, no, this is on my list. Or did I just watch this? No, I have not watched this yet. It's been on my list for a while. That's why I had to go look at the poster and a couple still frames.
Fair.
I'm really bad at remembering, like, based on a movie title. I have to look.
No,
yes, it's been on my list.
I just asked because I thought it was a new thing. I see here that it's actually from 2022, but our friend Kevin hit me up and said that he had seen it and strongly recommends that I check it out, and now I've got to subscribe to Netflix again. So you had mentioned Netflix and it popped into my head and I thought I would mention it. So
they're pulling you back in one by one.
No, it's all right.
Platform, it's What's Inside and Disappear Completely.
Yeah, I'll just make a new email address at some free email address place, sign up for a free trial, and just call it good. Wait, no,
I always
Netflix.
think it's funny when I get
Netflix doesn't do free trials anymore.
Oh, because people are doing that?
Yes.
Oh, no, Netflix. How would they do without your $7 per month or, I don't know, $20 per month? Netflix is, I have lost track of what they cost. So, yeah, it's What's Inside. Next one, a movie that I think I can still only watch via DVD, 1 minute, or Blu-ray. I think I got it on Blu-ray. I'd be amazed if I got it on DVD. I am just verifying this. But Out There, Halloween Mega Tape. the sequel to WNUF Halloween Special, which we covered for Spooktober. I am very predictable in how much I liked that movie, and I immediately went and bought physical copies of that, and WNUF might be one of the rare cases where the sequel is better. I really like the first one. I really like the sequel. Then again, the first one has Frank, the really fun anchor guy, and I love that really fun anchor guy. He's really silly. And I think if this also had Frank Stewart, it would definitely 100% undoubtedly be better. But yeah, I just I really like Out There Halloween Mega Tape. And if you like WNUF, it's worth checking out. I just love the commercials in these movies.
And you said that one is only available on like DVD Blu-ray? You can't even find it online anywhere?
I can't find it streaming anywhere. I haven't looked like today. I was trying to, but the site I used to search that is currently down. So that's great timing. But I could not find it anywhere, so I just bought it.
Side note, Michelle, how much do you just were you just annoyed when we ended up putting all that work into, and we had to find like a weird like Russian YouTube stream of a low quality version of WNUF, and then like October 2nd Shudder put it back up for streaming?
I can't even be mad because it does mean that I was able to bring WNUF to see my bestie in Denver, and I had a copy of it then, and
they did the same thing to us with Ghostwatch, you remember?
I do remember. But my bestie had a little too many edibles in the state where that is legal, and was just a half hour into it. I'm so sorry, Aaron. I still think this is so funny. Aaron, why is that guy wearing a costume and telling the weather? And John and I at the same time are like, it's Halloween, because he just kept asking questions. He's like, I'm sorry, don't yell at me. And I'm like, it's a half hour in. Everybody's wearing costumes.
I am so amused by the idea of a cannabis intoxicated Aaron. This is something I'm going to need to see at some point.
It's the best version
in
of
my life. Some of us would argue it's the best version of everybody. But anyway. Ooh, controversial.
Controversial. Okay, I've got one more movie I've got two more movies to talk about. One quick one to talk about that I know you haven't seen before I get into the piece de resistance.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's how you... Maybe.
Yes, the piece de resistance.
Okay. Yeah, Sting. It's on Hulu. It's delightfully campy. Don't go into it expecting anything serious or actually scary. If you want that, go watch that Shudder Spider movie that we covered earlier this year.
Oh, what was that called?
Was that Arachnophobia?
No, Arachnophobia is from like 1992.
Okay.
You keep talking, I'm going to go find out.
Perfect. This is a completely different Spider movie, and it's just silly and campy, and it is going to make you squeam when somebody doesn't notice a spider on their back, and you're like, turn around, bitch. It's not even a fear of like, this spider is going to kill you. It's more of a like, holy shit, there's just a spider on you and you don't know. And that spider also happens to be an evil spider, and that sucks. These are not the kind of spiders that you should wake up your husband at 3 a.m. to ask him to move the spider that's in your desk so that you can continue having insomnia, and you refuse to kill it, even though you know that by putting it in a cup and moving it outside in February, it's probably going to die anyway. But that's not on you. That's death by nature, not death by you. You gave that spider an opportunity. Sometimes there's real big spiders in my office and I can't handle it. I'm sorry. But Sting... really, really campy. It is not trying to be a serious horror movie. It's trying to give you those squeams that you would feel with a spider just shuffling along, and lots of web stuff.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Infested really was the Shudder one.
Thank you.
And I remember, because I remember Sting, I believe, had a brief theatrical run. And I remember for some reason for some reason, because they're spider movies, I thought that Infested was going to be Sting, and I do want to see that at some point. You think so? It's worth a look.
if you like campy stuff, which I do, where it's like none of this is serious, it's clearly comedic at certain points. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something I compare it to. Like, isn't there another? Maybe it is Arachnophobia that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no, that's like from '92
Evolution or something. Yeah, I think that one was also campy. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I would compare it to, that are all not in my headspace right now. But it's fun. It's camp. It is trying to do that. It's not accidentally funny. It's not trying to be scary. It's just good. Okay. I'm ready.
You're ready?
I have been so excited for Michelle in review because I have a lot of thoughts. Smile 2.
Oh God.
If the substance did not come out in 2024, Smile 2 would be my favorite horror movie of the year. Naomi Scott needs a Best Actress nomination, which is never going to happen because people don't recognize horror as real movies, but her performance is incredible. She has to do a huge range of emotions. She's incredible. This is gonna sound bizarre, but it uses up jump scares appropriately in that it is not just a quick jump and then you laugh because I got you. No, it is a quick change in something that you weren't expecting and then you remain scared afterwards. So you jump, but you're still scared and you're not laughing about it. And that is an appropriate use of a jump scare. There's a sound effect / song throughout that is kind of like tornado siren-esque that really got under my skin every time I heard it. There's some really weird camera work. It was 2 hours long, absolutely did not feel like it. I think people who are a little bit more sensitive to that, potentially JD, would be like, no, definitely could have cut that out, but I could have used more. I was very actually scared. I was also laughing though because I was like, oh shit, like it was one of those where like, oh man, like I was trying to contain it in the theater, but like I stress ate so many fucking milk duds. I stress ate all of Pear's popcorn and I didn't even order popcorn. I just refused to give up the tub. I was holding that thing for dear life. And when I say that a movie scares me, I think it's different than a lot of like what other people who maybe don't watch a million horror movies feel. And that's just like tense and anxious. And I think about it really long afterwards and I get in my head about it. And Smile 2 did that to the point where part of the reason my numbers are down for October is I couldn't find anything else that interested me for a couple days afterwards.
Oh, wow.
I really just wanted to rewatch Smile 2. I do want to cover it when it hits streaming, which probably will be Paramount Plus in November or December, because I loved it and I will have so much to talk about it when I can actually rewatch it and just really delve into all the things that it has. I fucking love Smile 2. It scared me way more than The Substance. The Substance is the best movie of the year, but Smile 2 is the scariest movie I've seen.
Yeah, that's another one, man. You're coming at me with all of these things, Michelle, that I'm just, they're, God, you're going to make me watch so many things that I don't want to watch.
Smile 2 is also one of those where the sequel is better than the original by far. My feed was blowing up because Smile was good. It's creepy. It does, what it's trying to do. It was very, I actually rewatched It Follows right before I went to see Smile 2. Just happened to work out that way. So it was funny to me, like the parallels between the two. But it, like, Smile was fine. My feed was blowing up with people being like, Smile 2 goes a million times harder than Smile ever did. And I was like, what do you mean? Like scare wise, is it just a ton of jump scares? I hate to be that person, but I'm skeptical of any horror movie that gets mainstream attention. I can't help it. It's just, but this year's proving that judgment is wrong. There have been very good things with wide releases and I'm happy about it. I'm definitely not upset by any means, but we get a lot of things where it's, we have the whole Conjuring franchise, which does not impress me very much, to quote my lady Shania Twain. So we have like mainstream horror tarot. Like we have these mainstream movies that like they appeal to a wider audience, but not to me. Smile 2, they were right. Holy shit. That's the kind of horror movie I want to see on the big screen every time.
All right.
It's insane. There were people in our theater. Okay, there were people in our theater talking, and I had some feelings about that. But there were people who this movie proved to them that they can't do horror movies. I'm pretty sure one girl walked out and did not come back because it was too scary for her. And I don't know if I've seen that like since the first Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
Yeah. Smile 2, incredible. Incredible movie.
God. Oh.
I know.
Let's move on to something else. You're just going to make me more and more frustrated.
I know. Okay, older horror. I can go through these pretty quickly.
Older.
Houses October Built, not the 2014 one that everybody's seen. The 2011 one, I messaged the distributor for the Houses October Built 2014 and went, hey, I'm a fan of your stuff. Or I'm a fan of the 2014 one. Can I please find where I can get a copy of 2011? I will pay you. I would love a physical copy if I can get it. They didn't respond to me, and I went, that's okay. I'm a nobody. I'm just trying to like get a hold of this. I would do this without the podcast. It was not a We Watch Shudder thing. It was I need to see this media kind of thing. And then I got a very nice message from them saying, hey, sorry it took us so long. We weren't allowed to state this, but Houses October Built 2011 actually hits Shudder October 1st. So I was like, hey. So I checked out the Houses October Built from 2011. If you're unfamiliar, Houses October Built 2014 is a found footage documentary style movie with a bunch of people who are going on a road trip just covering different haunted houses and extreme haunts. And they're trying to find this one elusive extreme haunt, and they figure out how they can get on that list, and they go to attempt it. Houses October Built, I didn't know much about it except that it had the same title. It was made by the same people, and it was just listed as a documentary on IMDb. So I went, oh, this is just the footage that they used to put together the 2014 movie. Because the 2014 movie, they did essentially just go on a road trip and film themselves at all these haunts, and then also stopped and filmed some scenes for this movie that they're making. So when some shit happens in 2011, I was like, whoa, no wonder they made a horror movie about this. This is wild. I can't believe this happened. Oh, it's not 100% documentary either. So I was completely caught up in it. I don't think that's a secret. I just had no idea. So I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean this happened at a haunt? I want to go through this haunt. This is oh, okay, never mind. But it's basically like a complete... Not complete. There's a lot of overlap between the footage that they use in both. It is definitely an alternate ending, we could say, of the 2014 one. And I prefer the ending in the 2011 one. I thought it was much better. I know why they had to do the 2014 one. There's some clear things of why they had to go that direction. But I love the ending of the 2011 one. And it's just as good. It's basically just like... It's kind of like Speak No Evil, where they had some different ideas and they wanted to see what would happen if they went a different way with it. Right. So if you like the 2014 one, 2011 one, probably still streaming on Shudder.
It is.
If not, reach out to whoever reach out to whoever the guy was who I spoke to. I'll get you an email. And he was very nice and very helpful and was very apologetic about the fact that he took time to get back to me, even though I was like, no, it's okay. I'm nobody. I liked the movie and I just wanted to see if I could buy it someplace.
Michelle, you're not nobody, Michelle. You're not
nobody.
You ain't nobody.
You're not somebody till you love somebody, or somebody loves you. Is that it? Oh,
you're nobody till somebody loves you, I believe is what you're trying to say.
I don't know anybody named Somebody, so somebody does not love me. We don't know each other.
Well, then you're going to have real trouble not being nobody.
I'm already having a lot of trouble being nobody and somebody. Both of those endeavors have failed. Okay, onward.
Onward through the fog.
The Museum Project 2016. I love putting movies on here that I know JD has no recollection of. That's my favorite. This, I had no idea about it until recently. It is a very underrated found footage film on YouTube. It is a girl and two guys, and they go to film this documentary about a haunted train station. And they film during the day, and then they decide to sneak back in at night. It's super indie. There's going to be some stuff that's kind of like okay, I see what you did there. But for those unfamiliar with the Fargo, North Dakota area, so like most of the world, there's nothing really here. We have this place called Bonanzaville. Bonanzaville is where we have old buildings that have been relocated from basically the rural North Dakota area.
Yeah, rural small
and
towns.
They remade their own little town. So there's old schoolhouses that you can walk through and old houses, and they have all these like historical artifacts. And one of my favorite parts of that is the train station, where they have old trains that you can walk through. They have miniatures of trains. I have massive nostalgia for that place. It was one of those that like we went to like for a field trip as a kid. I went there as an adult to help with some volunteer work to restore some of their buildings. I've been there as an adult just to wander out. So I think the fact that this happened in a train station, which is also like a historical train station, or it's shut down or something, it just really hit these vibes of like, oh shit, this is what I want the ghost hunts at Bonanzaville to be like in October.
I did a quick Google on it. It's just a short film.
Yeah, it's definitely shorter. I wanted to say it was like 40 minutes.
I see here, 45 minutes. The first thing I saw is just an IMDb page that says a short from 2016. I didn't bother to look for the running time. But yeah, it's about 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's one of those where we've got short films, we've got feature films. We need a mid-film kind of level where I'm like, you basically count as a full-length movie.
Yeah, the one point of separation where, at an hour, where anything less than an hour is a short and anything more than an hour is a feature, that's not useful.
Which means that Host is a short.
Yes, Host is a short film, technically.
Exactly. Ridiculous. I'm going to talk about Host in a little bit. We're going to move on. Reality Plus. 2014, this one is actually a true short film at only 22 minutes long. The maker of The Substance, whose name I still need to Google the pronunciation of, but Coralie Fargeat.
I've heard Fargeat. I've heard Farge. I don't know enough about French.
Farge sounds prettier.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I do like.
I mean,
Farge.
it's French, so I'm pretty sure the T is not in there, but.
Okay, well, I hope it's Farge. I do need to Google it, and I've been talking about them so much this month, and I still have not looked it up, and that's on me, you guys. I'm really bad with names, which sucks because I stress so much about making sure I get people's names right, but yet I don't. James McAvoy. Like, I care, but I just know how to spell the name. I don't know how to say it out loud. I make sure I get it right in writing. Anyway, Reality Plus. This was a short film from Madame Coralie. And it's cool because you can see so many influences of what went on to make The Substance. Like a lot of it kind of after watching The Substance, I had a need for a very specific type of maybe body horror, body modification, like tech modification. I just had this need for things that there weren't a lot of movies to fulfill. The ending, I think it's pretty predictable, but it's also 22 minutes. So it's like, whatever. I didn't waste my time. By the time I figured out what was going on, it was almost over. Like I started it, I figured out the plot, and okay, well, I can deal with knowing the plot for 20 minutes. But it's where you have the option to enter Reality Plus, where people see you as a different version of yourself because you have a little chip inserted and you can only use it for a certain amount of time. So when you're out on the street, now you are the most handsomest guy ever, and that's how people see you. And you meet other people who have these Reality Plus chips, and you can only hang out with them when your chips are active because now you're the beautiful people. And then you have to spend the other half of your life being just normal old Greg, just hanging around, doing nothing, filling out a Sudoku puzzle. So there's so much in this of what went on to become the substance. And I thought it was really cool that this was something 10 years old that still held a lot of weight and a lot of value.
And what was that called?
Reality Plus.
Reality Plus. Interesting.
2014. I found it online. I think it was available on YouTube, probably, but maybe Vimeo.
Sweet. It's a short, so I mean, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't take
Exactly.
time to check it out. What, 22 minutes you said?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can see so much of the influence from the substance.
That one I'm going to put on my list. Maybe I'll watch that tonight yet.
Ooh, that'd be cool, because I haven't had anybody to talk to. I mean, not that there's a ton going on, but I just think it's really cool that there's, it's worth talking about.
I know you meant about this movie, but what you just said was, I haven't had anybody to talk to, and it was just like, oh, jeez, aren't you married?
Well, yeah, but I've been so busy that we have very different schedules right now. He went to sleep hours ago, and I've just been talking to the cats all night.
And me, right, wait, am I one of your cats?
Oh, well, yeah. No, obviously not.
Oh.
But this counts as I almost said obligation, but that sounds mean. Wow. It's like a thing, like when I'm just being idle, I'm talking to the cats. This is not an idle act of recording a podcast. Just giving you shit. I know. Oh. I was like, how do I say this? When I'm idle, I'm talking to Samwise Gamgee because he meows back, and that makes me feel like I have a connection with another being, even though he's just meowing because he wants them victuals. He knows I keep at my desk. He does. He likes the treats, and then he loves to vomit all over the house, so he doesn't get them very often. Anyway, next, just a quick note. Host 2020. I messaged JD freaking the fuck out earlier. Not earlier today, earlier this month, because my brother's partner, Angel, who I adore, she is an angel. She had never seen Host. She's a big horror fan. So when I told her I would come over, she's like, cool, I've heard good things about Tarot. And I walked in and I went, okay, we can have a movie night, but I refuse to watch Tarot again. So we start going through the list of like, what's available? And I was like, if you haven't seen Host, you absolutely need to. And I've seen Host so many times. She caught something I've never caught before in my many watches. And I told JD and he was like, oh, well, you mean at this point? And I was like, no. 5 minutes prior to that. And then I tried to send him a screenshot, but I tried to do it from my phone. So, of course, it blacked it out. So I sent him a timestamp. This movie is so full of little things. And Jesus, it's such a good movie. That's all. Just if you haven't seen Host, that has to be like one of your top priorities to check out. Also, it's a short.
For sure. What else do you have for old stuff, Michelle?
Excision.
I've seen Excision.
I figured you probably had. I had to rewatch it because, again, after seeing The Substance, I had this need to get like really upset about gross body stuff. And I don't even think it counts as body horror. It's medical horror. It's very goopy. It's very gory. The first time I saw Excision, for those unfamiliar, it is a dark comedy about a very weird teenage girl who is obsessed with becoming a doctor, but does not think she needs school in order to do that. Just thinks that she has a natural knack for it because she loves blood and she loves the goopiness of what a human body can be. And that's all you need to be a doctor, right? We haven't seen true crime documentaries at all about that going terribly wrong, of a person being like, I can be a doctor without a license. And that's basically what this lady is. But it's also a dark comedy with a lot of cameos. Another movie with John Waters in it. So that gives you kind of an idea of the type of movie that this is. It's very goopy. And the first time that I watched it, best friend Aaron, Ron, during one of our friendo days, it was one of those where I'm like, hey, there's this movie. Do you want to watch it? And we put it on and we did not know what we were getting into. And I went, that was a weird choice for friendo day. So I needed to give it a second watch. It's been a while. And it definitely fulfilled the need that I had for some goopiness. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember a lot about it except it being really weird and like
Lots of dream sequences with blood.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very. It's not so much gory, but it's very bloody, as I recall.
Yes,
like
exactly.
There's blood, fucking everywhere. Like, isn't there like a whole like bathtub or bathroom sequence?
Yep, and it's also very saturated during those sequences.
Yeah, a lot of red light, and everything is color corrected
white.
Red. Yeah, red
very
and white.
Red blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Excision, it fulfilled the need.
I remember that one.
Yeah, good. And then my last one for older horror is The Crazies. Rewatched it, still love it. Someday I will see the original, maybe. I really love 2010's The Crazies. That was one of my favorite theatrical experiences because I did not expect that ending. And I fucking love that movie. I rewatched it. That's what got me out of the funk after watching Smile 2 and nothing else really appealing to me for a while. I just need to go rewatch a favorite, even though it has nothing to do with Smile 2 or the substance. I just felt like I really just want to go watch Smile 2 a second time. I have questions about things. And so I rewatched The Crazies instead. And that's what helped. That's what got me back on track for watching movies. I love The Crazies. They're so crazy. They be so crazy. They just be like, hey guys, what if murder was cool?
What if we
And then everybody's like, that sounds like a great idea.
What if we were crazy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, It's so good. It's like The Sadness, but not nearly as horrific. Do you know how crazy that is? That's the real crazy. If you told me in 2010, as I was leaving the theater, you know that movie you just saw called The Crazies in 2010? There's going to be a much, much more extreme version of that in 2022. I would have been like, what the fuck? Also, are you a time traveler? What's it like in the future? Which stocks should I invest in? Is it too late for Bitcoin?
Yes.
I would have some questions. No, I have Bitcoin now. Not very much, but it's helping.
Speaking of, you said that was the end of older films for you.
Older horror.
Yeah, I did want
for newbies. That would be anything pre-COVID.
Yeah,
That's what I call older horror.
I do want to mention quickly, just because I found this element of it interesting that I want to talk about. Those of you who have been with us a while, if you heard last month's Michelle in review, you know Michelle finally got around to seeing found footage, sort of, I don't know if legend is the right word, but a very notorious found footage film called Megan is Missing, that she thought she had seen and then turns out no, so she finally had seen it. And I went and watched it, and, like, Michelle was right. Like, it's definitely not my kind of movie at all. I wasn't as bothered by it as I have been by similar movies. And I had the reaction, for those of you who have seen it, obviously not going to spoil anything, but I had the reaction to the last half hour or so of it that I was expecting. And I just disconnected at that point. But I find the first hour of that film, especially a couple of monologue sequences with the girls, in particular the Megan character, just like profoundly disturbing. Like the conversations and the things they talk about happening and the way they talk about it, and how things that are horrifying are just sort of seen as that's just how things are. The first hour of that movie is the whole movie is fucked up, but the first hour is fucked up in a way that I was not expecting. The last half hour is basically what I thought I was gonna get, but goddamn, I was not expecting the first portion of that at all.
That's one of those movies that hit the line for me.
Yeah.
One of the weird, that one, I was like, okay, don't need to see that again.
Yeah, like, again, without saying too much, just like the summer camp monologue. What the fuck? Man, like, Jesus Christ. And I do want to say it's interesting because there are moments in this, the movie is super indie, and I know there have been certain criticisms about the acting from the two lead actors in the film. And I see moments where I understand that criticism in those scenes. There's that one, and there's one other that I don't remember quite as significantly. I found the acting incredibly believable and powerful, and goddamn, yeah, that movie rattled me for sure. And then the one other thing that I wanted to mention was I saw a movie. I almost forgot because Spooktober was so busy. But early in the month, I saw a movie called When the Trash Man Knocks. It's available on Tubi. Again, super, super indie. Make sure you go in with that understanding. But it's kind of a slasher giallo kind of thing. Very heavily Argento influenced. But very much just, playing to what it has available to it as an indie film. I just really, really enjoyed it. The fellow who made it, Christopher Moore, I believe is his name. I'm sorry, it's not coming to me right away. He's got a couple other films on Tubi that I want to get around to checking out, but I wanted to make sure I took a moment to mention that one again. It's called When the Trash Man Knocks.
Excellent. I have not seen that one. Oh, how the turns tabled.
How the turns have tabled. Now what do we talk about,
right.
Michelle?
Non-horror, our last section, because I don't have anything in the literature section. Maybe I'll get back to it in October. Who knows? My life has
in
a
November?
nice reset. Yeah. See, it's not going to be a good month. Okay, so non-horror. Gonna give just a very quick shout out to The Boy and the Heron, which is available for streaming on Max, formerly HBO Max. If you enjoy Miyazaki's Spirited Away, this is the first film that really felt like it got back to that same kind of Ghibli film. The Boy and the Heron. I like it. Also, Robert Pattinson. One of those is evangelical. One of them is an actor. The one from Twilight. I would have no idea he voiced one of these characters if I did not know already that he voiced one of these characters. He is a great voice actor. But The Boy and the Heron, if you like your little animes like I do, that's a good one.
I'm not the biggest anime guy in general. I do really enjoy Studio Ghibli. They make really great. And I don't know, especially Miyazaki. I know there are a couple of other guys involved with Ghibli, but Miyazaki is pretty incredible.
This is the first one that I've actually really loved in a while. I think it's a big adventure story that I've needed from films. Like Ponyo, little fishy of the sea is cute, but it's not like a big adventure with these really weird little guys. Don't worry, guys. There are some very cute, weird little guys to love. That's how you know it's a good Ghibli film. If there's just a little weird guy that I can become obsessed with and put on a keychain and get a little sticker of, and he doesn't even have a name as far as I know. He's just a little weird round guy who just goes like dip, 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 dip as he walks. Damn, I'm sold on that movie. That's all I need in my Ghibli film. It's the suit sprites from is that Howl's Moving Castle. There are the wood spirits from Princess Mononoke.
That's the twitchy mushroom head people.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. One of my favorite little weird guys.
No,
I have them all
out.
over my room. I've got little stickers. I've got little window decals. I love them and the suit sprites. I got suit sprites on my wall behind me. I love just a weird little guy.
I may have tried to watch that film for the first time under the influence of something a little stronger than cannabis, which probably has something to do.
That's a bad movie to do.
Oh yeah, it definitely had something to do with why those little twitchy head dudes are. They were problems for me. Holy shit, they were problems.
That's a really dark movie to begin with. I think that was the first Ghibli film that I saw, if I recall, because I know I watched it with my friend Courtney, who is the one who got me into anime. Rest in peace, my beautiful friend. But she's the one who got me into anime, and I watched Princess Mononoke with her, and I went, oh shit, there's things like this out there. It's not just Dragon Ball Z. Okay. I mean, she was also obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. Let's be honest. She loved Dragon Ball Z. I never got into it. But when she showed me Princess Mononoke, I went, okay, girl, I see it now. I got you. So that will always be my favorite movie.
I think you mean Mononoke Hime.
Nope. Fuck right off. The English dub is perfectly fine.
No, I know. It stands out so much in my memory. I very specifically, because that movie played at the Fargo Theater, Princess Mononoke. And I didn't see it there, but for some reason I remember being in town while it was playing there, and I happened to be downtown, and I overheard somebody making it a point to make that clarification. It's like, I mean, the real name of the movie is Mononoke Hime, and I'm like, dude, it's not the wrong name because it's not in the same language. It was just one of those bro moments that just made me upset. And it's been stuck in my memory ever since for like 20 odd years.
Quick aside before I tell you my next movie, I was so proud of myself, and this is one of those things where like very few people would find it funny, but thank God I was with Jenna and she found it funny. So bro moments where like a nerd guy will see a girl wearing like a Marvel t-shirt and be like, oh, do you actually know anything about that character? What's your favorite comic arc? Have you seen this movie? What's their catchphrase? What do you know about their costume? And they ask a million questions.
Oh, yeah.
Jenna and I were hanging out with some friends on Halloween, and I explained that to her, like, hey, Jenna, you know these types of guys? And she was like, yeah. And I went, well, what if? And I pointed at a guy who was at the same party as us, and he was wearing an A24 shirt, and we just lost it because I wanted to go up to that guy and be like, oh, are you really an A24 fan? Tell me, what was their first feature-length film that they released that you could put under the horror genre? Who's the writer-director who got his big break by putting out a film in 2020 that audiences said was one of the best horror movies that had been widely released? I was just coming up with questions. I told him later on the day when I actually met him, like, hey, I was going to do that to you, and he thought it was funny because he's actually don't worry, I vetted him. He was a real horror fan.
I vetted him.
Yeah, he wasn't just like wearing a band t-shirt that he didn't have a right to. There wasn't a stolen valor situation.
Michelle,
he had seen some A24 films.
Michelle is now the gatekeeper of whether or not you're legit.
Exactly. And the problem is I took my own quiz and I'm not legit.
Oh,
Nobody
shit.
can pass the quiz. It's too hard.
Oh, shit. That's not good, Michelle.
I'm too legit.
That's
and
not
I have
good.
To quit.
That's not good.
I've got two more things to talk about in non-horror.
All right.
Okay. First off, I know this is one that you are going to want to see, JD. If you have not,
Is it the Wild Robot?
No, though that's on my list too. I've heard incredible things about the Wild Robot. Will and Harper.
I have never even heard the name.
Oh shit. Okay. Will and Harper. It's a movie on Netflix.
No, this is the documentary with Will Ferrell.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Will Ferrell was friends with this person named Harper, who worked as a writer on Saturday Night Live when they were there. Now that both of them are much older in life, Harper came out to Will and said, you know, I'm a trans woman. This is my name. This is how I live my life now. And Will Ferrell was like, okay, well, I want to get to know you as this new person. What if we do a road trip? Because Harper is all about road trips and loves just traveling the country. And Will's like, well, can I come on one of these trips with you? And she's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And they decided that this would be a great way to let Harper feel a little bit more comfortable traveling the country in the way that they would enjoy doing. And she would be able to, you know, go into these spots that she probably might not feel safe going into like a small town bar as herself now. So it's got a lot of really funny moments, but it does have so many really good heart touching moments. I mean, obviously with this kind of material, I expected it to be so sappy that I wouldn't be interested in it. I was very worried about it, you know, just being like a very like heart-wrenching documentary because of the subject matter that it covers. But I think Will and Harper have such a great friendship that it was just really refreshing to watch them talk about these topics. And Will kind of had these questions of like, hey, can I ask you something as my friend? And Harper was more than happy to tell him whether he was right or wrong to think a certain way, and was perfectly fine correcting people when they misgendered her, and was fine telling Will afterwards, like, that was awkward. I kind of wish as my friend that you had stepped in a little bit to help me out in that moment. So all of that was just, it was really refreshing. And I think it's one of those that might help other people who might, I don't want to say struggle, but like they might also have kind of questions and don't know how to navigate like this new friendship. And that's what Will talks about is, you know, I didn't know if you would still like me as the person I am. I didn't know. And like Will talks to Harper's kids and is like, hey, how does this relationship work? Well, and it's really, really good.
Right. Well, and in a way, what it's done, and I'm just, you know, obviously guessing based on what I've heard about it, but it seems like from the reaction to it, what it's done is, because, look, let's be honest, there are a lot of trans folks who are just, they're not, they have so much of their own stuff going on that, first of all, they might not even be interested in doing the emotional labor for you or educating you.
Yep.
Or assisting. They might not, you know, and they have no responsibility to you to do that. But this was clearly an opportunity where two people understood that, especially because of Will Ferrell's position as a celebrity, that this is an opportunity where they could have that conversation with each other, but at the same time make it available both so people who want to be supportive but don't know how to go about having the conversation, or who maybe aren't brave enough to broach the subject, will have that. But also then a lot of trans people might not necessarily have to do that work either, right? We can point to this and say, this is a good place to start. And I just, the concept of that seems so incredibly valuable to me. So I definitely want to see it. I'm also very interested in getting specific feedback on it from some of my trans friends to see how their reaction to it is and how they feel about it. But yeah, I'm very interested in seeing that.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I think, unfortunately, one of the things that people tend to focus on is, well, Will Ferrell's such a good guy, and you can tell. And Will himself is upset that they took that position because he's like, no, Harper's a good person for coming along on this journey and letting this be a way for other people to learn.
Right.
And I think that's, I mean, Will Ferrell he's a treasure. I do love Will Ferrell in general, but Harper, who I was not familiar with at all because they were writers, so they were behind the scenes. I never saw them on film at SNL, and, you know, they did not become Will Ferrell's type of celebrity, but they are so funny and so open and so honest while still being very respectful. Like, both of them are so respectful in this conversation of like navigating, like, we have a very joking friendship. Where are we allowed to make these jokes? And some of the jokes that both of them make, it's like, okay, see, you're like, Will's like, I don't know if I was allowed to like talk about this, and then Harper makes a much more inappropriate joke, and it's great.
Yeah,
it's just really, it's such a relief to see like that kind of like, look, people can navigate this complicated topic.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that people will learn from it.
I just, not to veer off the topic, but what you were just talking about reminded me of something else that I noticed, or I saw recently, talking about, you know, what is it okay to talk about? How are we allowed to joke about these things in ways that are safe, but still are that kind of humor that's indicative of an intimate friendship, right? And it's just about humor in general. It's a clip I saw of an interview with a comedian named Anthony Jeselnik, who is well known for talking about some really some things that probably some people just on the surface might be like, oh, that's not something you should say. But he's talking about like comedians and people with a sense of humor and how they almost seem to think that like getting in trouble is the point now, or they wanna push up against the edge, but then they're surprised or taken aback or feel attacked when there's pushback against that. And he mentions a quote that's apparently attributed to Andy Warhol, is how he said it. So I don't know if it's actually Andy Warhol, but it's something that's stuck with me ever since I saw this clip of him saying it. And what he said is, art is getting away with it. So if you did this thing, like if you told this joke and it didn't just make everybody laugh, and some people were very upset and came at you about it, you didn't get away with anything. Like, it is possible to talk about those things, but that's the craft of it. And ultimately what I'm getting at is part of that is educating yourself and familiarizing yourself with certain things and learning how you can talk about this in ways that are still respectful and ways that don't feel mean, right? Anyway, it's just a random thought that I popped in and wanted to share. It's an awesome clip. I should put it up on our social media. It's a great little... It's especially nice to hear a modern stand-up comedian who is known for some really risque, edgy stuff to say, no, you don't just get to say whatever you fucking want to say and not catch any shit for it if it's problematic. And that was pretty cool.
I really like that definition, because I've always said that the way that you can say edgy things with comedy is, or what would be considered edgy, is if the people you're being edgy towards are laughing with you. Is like a good summary of it. And I really like, I prefer the if you're getting away with it, because that encompasses that.
Yeah.
Of like,
art is getting away with it. And I just
really like that
definition. That phrase was just like, oh shit. Yeah. I get it now. For sure.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Anyway.
Okay.
Random thoughts. What else do you have to talk about?
Last one. Another documentary. I was on kind of a documentary kick in Spooktober, because nothing's more terrifying than real life. Okay, so the contestant.
Not wrong.
I am never wrong. The contestant 2023. I thought I knew everything about this story and that there would be nothing more for them to give me, and holy shit, I was so wrong. JD, are you familiar with, I should have looked up the years this happened, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, a man who lived in, oh God, was this Japan? I should have done a little bit of looking up. I want to say it's Japan, but I didn't watch it recently.
Who does show prep?
I know. So Japanese reality star who they were finding a person who was going to be a contestant on a reality TV show, and they picked this guy, and then they went, okay, great, and they put him in a room. They took his clothes, and they said, okay, you do not get to leave this room until you win 1 million yen in items via sweepstakes. So, and then anything he won, he got to keep. So he just sat there, and all day long, he looked through magazines, and he sent out postcards to try to get out of this room. Are you familiar with this at all?
No, I am not.
Holy shit. I've gone down so many rabbit holes about this that I was like, there's no way that they will give me new info. The guy's name, Nasubi. His full name is Tomoaki Hamatsu, I believe. He has a very long chin, so they called him Eggplant, which is, I believe, the translation of Nasubi is what everybody knew him as.
That's rude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's what he was, he said that he really wanted to be like a comedian and like a comedic actor, so he went with it. So it was one of those like, I'm Nasubi, I'm Eggplant, kind of things. But he was not told that this would be filmed, or he was told it would be filmed. He was not told it would be broadcast. He was locked in a room without a TV. And he slowly became a gigantic celebrity without anybody knowing, because they did this thing where once a week they would basically sum up like in 8 to 10 minutes what Nasubi had been up to that week. And it's him like getting dog food and being ecstatic because he ran out of food to eat. And the whole time he is just like laughing throughout it and being super positive. And so everybody's just seeing this and being like, ha ha ha, this is a hilarious thing. The door was never locked. He was not held hostage, but it's really fascinating from a human psychology standpoint of like the effects of isolation. And like, you're not stuck there, but at what point do you want to leave? They interview the show producer, who is openly happy to be a villain, and talk about how he fucked with Nasubi while he was in there. And long story short, because it is a real story and I'm not going to get into a lot of it, Nasubi was kept in isolation for 15 months. The people who he did interact with were not allowed to become his friends. So he was just in this room by himself.
So, was he aware that the door was not locked and that he could leave at any time?
He absolutely was.
And all they told him was, you can't leave until you win 1,000,000 yen worth of prizes.
Exactly.
Did he actually win 1,000,000 yen worth of prizes before he left?
Yes, and then some is what I will say.
That's... God damn it, now I gotta put this on my list. What's
and
it
the
called?
thing is, it's called The Contestant on 2023, or from 2023, and it's on Hulu. God, it is so interesting because he's also just this really likable guy who wanted to become a celebrity. So there was that driving him of, I have to stay here and like dance around for the camera and do this because it's my big break. I can't give up on my big break. And he just slowly kind of like lost his mind being isolated for 15 months. And yes, out of context, it is funny. Him figuring out how he's going to cook rice without a pot, you know, like, and he gets very creative about it, and he's jumping around for joy because he got the most ridiculous random things. Like, I think he gets a kayak or something, like just ridiculous shit that doesn't help his circumstances. But what he was really trying to do the whole time was get food, because I think they gave him rice or something. But as soon as he actually won his first thing of food, they went, okay, we're not giving you any more food. Now you are reliant on sweepstakes. And he became an expert in figuring out how to complete sweepstakes and started getting prizes really fast. And that's when the producer had to fuck with him. And it is heartbreaking what happens to this guy. The worst part is Nasubi seems like an angel of a human being. And you learn what he wound up doing after the show, and also learning how to be social with people again. Because now he's this gigantic celebrity. He didn't know that they were going to be releasing episodes every week about him. He knew it was filmed, but he did not know that was happening. So suddenly he's out of isolation and everybody wants to talk to him. And that was terrifying.
Oh, I bet.
Also fun. Yeah. Also, fun fact, when the producer shoved him into this room and told him to take his clothes off, and Nasubi was like, what the fuck? Because he was not told what was happening. He was just suddenly put in a room and they're like, take off your clothes. And he's like, okay. And they're like, everything. And then they explained the rules to him and just left him there. So what they did is at a certain point, or not at a certain point, at some point they were live streaming it as well. And that's a whole thing. But they, because he was naked, they had to use an emoji to cover up his business. And because his name was Nasubi, aka Eggplant, they used an eggplant to cover that area. And that's where it's assumed that's where the eggplant emoji in texting came from, and how it stands for dicks now is from Nasubi.
Okay, I could see that for sure.
absolutely. That was an interesting tidbit, but that is, I think it's so interesting that this guy was not held hostage. He knew he could leave at any point, and he wasn't even necessarily like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he wasn't starving to death. He just was not eating well. His health was not great, but he didn't know that because he wasn't having massive health problems. So it's a matter of how much do you put on the line when you know it's your big break, when you know this is the thing that could actually work for me and change my life. How much of this do I endure? And then when they step it up unexpectedly and you go, what the fuck? I did the thing I came here for. How much does it take for you to stay in that situation again? And how much does it take when they do it to you a third time?
That's fucking wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to end on. The contestant. I had read and watched a lot of stuff about this several years ago. I think it was one where like some big YouTube channel did a documentary just on there. And then I had to go like, what the fuck do you mean? And the fact that they interview Nasubi himself as well as the producer of the show, who is just like, yeah, I'm a villain. I don't give a fuck. Like, all I cared about was good ratings. I didn't care if anybody liked me. What I cared about was the ratings. And he is just openly fine being like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Who cares? I had the most popular show in Japan. I don't give a fuck. The fact that he's got that attitude towards it is wild.
It's kind of terrifying, frankly.
I know. Yeah, it's like, yeah. I don't have a better way to sum up my feelings. I was flabbergasted, and I'll probably watch it a second time just because also Nasubi just seems like such a good person. So then him talking about like, yeah, I mean, it was kind of torture is wild.
Awesome.
So
that's the end, huh?
Okay. That's the end.
Oh,
no
man.
literature. Maybe I'll read some of these comics that were forced onto me by my friend Mike.
Like 6 months ago.
Like 6 months ago. I've been meaning to
know how
read
it
Saga.
is.
I probably need that as a reset because I'm very tired.
Before we wrap up completely, I do want to say thank you to everybody who's been listening. So we started the show in 2022. We did our first Spooktober that year. We did our second one last year. And we were marginally up last year from the first year. But we fucking smashed our best month ever numbers this month over last Spooktober. Like, it's not even close. And that feels really awesome, and we just really appreciate everybody who's been listening and sharing the word with everybody else. If you are listening and you want to swing by wherever it is you're listening and drop like a rating, I don't even care if you leave a review, just drop a rating. Tell us how you feel about the show. Look, if it's going to be a low rating, fuck off. But, you know, I'll accept anything from, like, frankly, I'll take, like, a 3 up.
Yeah, 3 is absolutely reasonable.
He said if it's going to be anything less than a 3, fuck off, as he regularly rates films less than a 3 all the time.
Well, I think those people could tell us to fuck off if they wanted to.
Look, I'm okay with you rating me a 1 if you leave a review and it says, look, I'm not rating this based on the specific, it's just not for me. You know, if that's what your review is, fair. If your experience with the podcast is a 1, okay, I guess I have to allow that.
A while ago, probably like a year now, I stopped looking at our ratings, and that has been really helpful for me.
I didn't stop looking at them.
I know there's gonna be a day where they're gonna be like, Michelle sucks, and this would be much better if they just replaced her altogether.
I guess I should be clear. No, I don't read the reviews, and there aren't a whole lot of them, thankfully.
I don't do either.
But I do look at the ratings, and I can assure you that they're very good. They're very, very good. I would say maybe like 1 in 20 is not super positive.
Okay.
Like a 5% at worst.
If it's not apparent to anybody by now, I do fixate on things, and I know I would fixate on like, I got to get our ratings up. That's the thing. I got to build a spreadsheet about this. I got to contact all my friends. Speaking of bitches, listen, I know Kristen, listen to me. Kristen, have you reviewed my podcast yet? Have you reviewed my podcast, Kristen? I bet you have not.
Look, I
hope you feel attacked by this statement.
There are a lot of you out there, frankly. Close.
Sarah, who just told me she never listens, and I went, not even the episode with your sister, and I'm furious about it.
I don't even care if you listen, but go to the fucking podcast place and drop a rating. There's plenty of you out there. Our close personal I would be willing to bet that across all platforms, we have not just a majority, but a significant majority, maybe a 2-to-1 majority of ratings from people we've never met in our lives versus ratings from people who are supposed to be our friends, Michelle.
One of them was Aaron. Aaron.
Aaron, you're my man.
Episode.
You're my man.
How dare you? He's fixed it now. There was a while where it was glitched out and it did not show his rating on whichever site I was looking at. I was like, how dare you? And he was like, what? And I was like, nope, you definitely did not rate us. And he's like, what do you mean? I rated you ages ago. I was like, no, Aaron, how could you do this to me? And I was like, just kidding, it's glitched. It's not showing it.
Holy shit. You know what I'm fixating on now, Michelle?
Yeah.
This episode is coming up on 2 hours. Are we done?
Yeah, it's a Michelle in review. You always act at the end like this is a horrible inconvenience.
No, not a horrible inconvenience. I was just like, oh shit, we've almost been going for 2 hours.
And they love it. This is better than them getting a tepid review of The Exorcism, and it was fine about Doc of Chucky. So you guys, you got Michelle in review and 2 mini reviews.
Lots
You're
of
welcome
things. Lots of
for
things.
That.
There's another documentary.
Although I am starving.
There's another documentary coming up in just a few days called, I believe, the J Horror Virus. I don't know if we're gonna do an episode about that one or not. That one maybe, because it's not like about a specific franchise. That one might be worth talking about. Documentaries are just so hard to have like a really solid episode about.
Well, I've already been preparing for the J Horror Virus episode, so I think we have to.
Well, shit. I guess that solves that.
I'm gonna be watching Japanese horror films to prepare in advance, because that's my favorite about documentaries is we don't necessarily talk about the documentary. I know that this is going to be about Japanese horror. I can talk about Japanese horror. So I'm doing my research. I got a couple days.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out all the stuff you've never checked out before. Find us wherever you can find us. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Find me at my house. That's where I'll be. Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter, if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.